Hi everyone, my name is Emilio, and in today's Teco Tips video podcast, I'm going to be talking about networking. It's a very important skill to have in college and, all throughout life. Let's start with finding a network. What are some words that come to mind? A few good answer choices would be connections, people, opportunities, internships. Now, these are all good answer choices, but the goal of a network ultimately is to nourish your personal and professional growth. And this can be done in a variety of different ways, whether it's volunteering at a peer's nonprofit event or learning about an internship's interview style. A network is ultimately to utilize the authentic human relationships that you form to optimize the success in your professional and personal life. I think this is a pretty good time to transition into my interview with Professor G. He's going to talk to us today about, the importance of a network from his perspective. Now, I'm going to snap my fingers and we're going to travel back in time to earlier today in the morning. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Professor G, a California Community College counselor and professor, as well as co-founder of Speedamite Inc. Professor G has over 20 years of experience helping thousands of students get through community colleges and universities. And today I get to ask him a few questions about networking. So first—
What's up, Emilio? What's up, Emilio? Thanks for having me.
Yes, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I wanted to start by asking you, how do you define a network?
Network, okay. Network is super important. It doesn't matter where you are. You always want to do networking. And so let me kind of give you an idea of how I think of networking. And so networking is basically connecting with other people. It's really building your gang, right? And so, for those of you who know me, I'm from the Salinas Valley, and hey, we grew up around gangs. So what I've learned over all my years, on the streets was, how big is your gang, right? Do you have a small gang or do you have a big gang? And when you have a big gang, guess what? People kind of, they're careful with you, right? They know that you have a lot of support, whether it's good or bad, right? Whether it's criminals or whether it's great professionals, you have a number of people in your corner that work to make you a little bit better, right? Work to protect you, work to give you opportunities that you weren't going to get anywhere else. And so I like to think of it that way. So whenever I go into an event or whenever I go to college, or whenever I go into the classroom or wherever I go to the store, I know that as a professional, right, I got to build my network. So I got to make my gang as big as possible, because I don't know who that person knows. I don't know how many opportunities they could bring to my life, et cetera, et cetera. So networking, the way I like to look at it, again, it really depends on what I'm talking about, but the way I like to look at it is the way I build my gang. I'll give you a quick example. I was at a conference just this last weekend down in San Diego. I built my network. I got like 20 to 30 new gang members in my network. And so think about that for a second, right? Before this weekend, I have about 500 professional homies, right? Now I got 530 professional homies in one weekend. And so my gang kind of expanded. And as I network and get to know them more, etc., then there's opportunities there. There might be opportunities for a job, right? There might be opportunities to partner with someone and kind of work through something. There might be opportunities to build a company. I don't know. That's what you have to think about when you're looking at network. It's a way to build the people that are going to back you up either at work or going to back you up in a new company that you're trying to build, or going to back you up in just emotional support, right? Because sometimes you got to vent. So I vent a lot on my gang, right? I'll call up a couple of homeboys that are in my gang and basically say, hey man, this shit just happened to me at work. What do you think? And, they'll give me their opinion and it'll give me some ideas on how to address those kinds of things at work. My network, think of your network, your homies as, hey, they're going to try and help you get other jobs. The better they know you, the more they know what kind of value you bring to the table. Those individuals, right, the ones who do really care about you, those are the ones that are going to help you land those next positions in your career track, right? Or they're the ones who are going to instill ideas that'll get you to that next major or that next university or that next degree that you're going about. So networking is critically important. And you have networks everywhere. It's not just work networks, right? It's not just professional networks. It's networks at home, networks in your neighborhood. You know, when I go back home to my neighborhood, you know, I can get my car fixed like that, like for cheap, you know, for like a 12 pack of beer. You know, you can't do that if you're not out there networking, right? So you always look at your network as you know, like your family, right? It could be your real family, they can be part of that network, but it's also you adding other people to that family, so that you can, you know, use their resources. Now, it's not just adding people for you. You're a part of their network too. So whenever you're a part of somebody else's network, right? Guess what? You have to be looking out for them as well, right? You got to be, you know, giving them some advice. How do they become better professionals? How do they become better people? How should they address some of the problems or issues? If you went through it, you can then share it with them, et cetera, et cetera. How do you stay in contact, you know, as professionals? There's LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn.com. If you don't have that an account there, eventually you will, right? Once you get your degrees and stuff like that, usually you'll build a LinkedIn profile and start networking and tagging other people. The younger folk, you know, they're using, you know, Instagram, you know, Facebook, TikTok, all the different social media sites starts to build your network. But when you really start working professionally, most of that moves over to LinkedIn, you know, and it's really now only your professional network that keeps you going. I can go on, you know, all day with what is a network, but just think of it, you know, very simply. You know, what I'm after is making it simple so everyone understands. Your network is your gang, right? How big is that thing? How powerful is that thing? And the bigger and more powerful it is, the more likely you're going to be on that right career track and be able to land those jobs that you've always wanted, because your network is what protects you and promotes you. How about that?
Thanks. You did a really good job. I think you did a good job at highlighting that, you know, a network is an interconnected group of people. And through those group of people that you build authentic relationships with, you know, there's going to be opportunities available. And, you know, it's a two-way street. They'll also be able to find support in, you know, you. So I definitely wanted to ask you, because for students, I think there's a specific group of people that need to think about networking. So I wanted to ask you, you know, as a professor and counselor, what mistakes do students make when trying to form their network?
You stay quiet. If you don't open your mouth, we have a problem, right? Because I don't know you. And the biggest fear students have that I've learned over 20 years, and I've been counseling a lot of people, and I counsel everyone, right? I counsel the high achieving 4.0 student, honors level, and I counsel the student that just got out of prison, right? And I'm more near the one that just got out of prison personally than the 4.0, but I can do it. I can counsel all of them, right? And so as the mistake they all make, right? Whether they're a 4.0 or just or a 2.0 or a 1.0, it doesn't matter. It's they have this fear of talking to the professionals, right? And I think, you know, when I was a kid, my mom told me don't ask for help, right? My dad told me don't ask for help because we were poor, right? And we were in a gang infested neighborhood growing up. And when you're poor and like that, you can't ask for help because you will owe someone, right? And when you owe someone in those kinds of neighborhoods, it's dangerous. And so as a kid, I was taught by my family, you never ask for help. You do it all yourself or you don't need it, right? And so, you know, think about that. 18 years of being told never to ask for anything from anyone, right? Because of that fear of owing someone, right? And so I had to undo all of that. And I know a lot of you out there listening, guess what? You were told the same thing by your parents. Que no estén pidiendo nada. You know, don't ask for food, don't ask for money, don't ask for nothing, don't ask for help because of that fear, right? And so it was really, really evident in my family that we don't ask for nothing. We are standalone as a family. Nada. Why? Because of the danger. Now, when you get into college, you know, you have to think, I'm in a different location now. The danger I was used to, this isn't the same environment, right? And so when you change the environment, you also have to change your behavior. And when you change your behavior, the first thing that has to go is you got to be vocal. You got to tell people about who you are, about what your dreams and aspirations are. As a student, we want to know. We want to know who you are. We want to know what you are. We want to know what makes you tick. We want to know what pisses you off. We want to know what makes you happy. But because we were trained not to ask or talk to anyone because of that fear, many students still don't share anything. And if you don't share anything, then I can't really build my network with you because I don't know you, right? You might be able to find a lot of stuff on me, but I won't be able to find a lot of stuff on you. So it goes both ways, right? So my biggest tip to young people is, first and foremost, every single class, go up to the front of the class right away and shake the professor's hand and introduce yourself. That's my number one secret tip. Why? Nobody does that. What will you win? You'll be the only one that does that. A professor, I teach classes. When somebody does that, and it's rare, but when somebody does that, I memorized who they were. Why? That was such a different behavior because they're fearless. And now here's the thing. They probably are fearful inside, but they bury that fear inside their stomach, and they muster up the courage to walk up, introduce themselves to me. Hi, my name is Emily. This is my first year in college. I'm thinking about studying, business administration. And I just want to say I'm looking forward, I wanted to meet you, Professor Gonzalez, and I wanted to say I'm looking forward to, what's going to happen in this class, or what I'm going to learn in this class. That simple introduction, you already got 1 point. Everyone else in the room has 0 points. Okay, you made it a point for me to see you. You made it a point for me to hear you, and you shook my hand, which means you touched me. All of those points are leaving points in my head about who you are, right? You do that again, the next lecture, and then again, you are now in my permanent memory, okay? Every time I see an email from you now, every time I see you turn in an assignment now, I already know, I picture you there. And that is huge, because I'll be honest with you, man. Sometimes when we're grading, you're like, oh man, borderline A-, borderline B+. Well, guess what? We're human too. And if I remember Emily, more than likely Emily's going to end up with an A- because she came up and shook my hand. And then there's those students who don't do nothing, who sit in the back and don't even participate, don't raise their hand, and are just quiet. Listen, we're not going to know who you are by the end of the semester. How am I supposed to write you a letter of recommendation to a job or to a scholarship? How am I supposed to do that if I don't know who the hell you are, right? Don't assume that professors know you. We don't. We have you in class. You might have 30 students in that one class. You might have 50. You might have 100 students in that one class. We have 4 or 5 classes. You get what I'm saying? You got to make sure, the first thing about networking is make sure that I have to walk up and shake someone's hand. I got to say something in class. I got to raise my hand and participate. I got to make sure that they see me, right? That's key to networking. And so, quick example on my end, I've been networking now for 20, 30, 40 years, man, most of my life, right? At first, you network in the streets, in the streets, hey, what's up? So, just tough guy, right? But last weekend, it wasn't on the streets. I was at that conference. I can't tell you how many times, as soon as I saw the people who were kind of had more authority in the room, me and my hat, I walked up to every single one of them, fearless, and shook every one of their hands. Because what are they going to do to me? Nothing. It's a matter of me introducing myself to them, because I'm planting myself as a seed into their head. Does that make sense? And so once I plant my seed one time into their head, great. They've seen me once. They're like, this guy's kind of weird. He's wearing a hat and like a sport jacket, and he's kind of cool, but he's not as, high level professional. Dude, I already, sent them a connect on LinkedIn. So there's seed number 2, right? Next week, I'm going to send them an email. There's seed number 3. How many? It's only a matter of time before, no matter where they see my image, no matter where they see my name, they're going to be, oh, that's Mauricio. He's from Sacramento, That's part of networking, is you're planting seeds everywhere so that the group of people that you're trying to connect with will always remember you. So don't forget, speak up, right? Shake some hands, right? Be fearless, right? It's inside, the fear is inside. Push that thing down and get up there and talk to some people. And that's my best tip I can give you as a student, as a young professional. Don't fear the CEO. Nobody talks to us. Why? Because we're CEOs. Everyone's scared shitless of us. We're normal people. We want to talk to you. We want to actually hear what you got to say. But because you won't come up because of that fear, it just really doesn't let our relationship grow.
Thanks. I think you really highlighted that, fearlessness, courage, confidence are characteristics of what makes, it really helps to optimize how well one does in building their network, planting those seeds. I think you mentioned like at least 3 seeds.
That's right.
So
And,
yeah,
and if you can plant more seeds, do it, right? If you find out that if you want this one person in your network, right? Let me give you an example. If I want, I'm in high technology. So if I want to meet some kind of, CEO or engineer or whatever, it doesn't matter, business person, I'll find out, hey, where do they present at? What workshops do they go to? Do they have lectures? And guess what? Guess where you're going to see me at those things. Why? Because I need to be in the same room with them. And eventually I'm going to start asking questions. And as I ask questions, people are going to look over and say, oh, there's that guy again, right? That's seed number 4 now, right? And then if I ask another question, I might introduce myself on that question. Oh, my name is Mauricio Gonzalez, and I'm doing that on purpose. Why? Seed number 5 just got planted to that room full of people of who this guy is. That makes sense? And then you do it again, and you do it again. And you're just like, I grew up in Salinas Valley, so I grew up around farming. My parents are farm workers, right? So I teach my students, hey, be a farmer. Plant seeds. All you got to do is plant seeds. Everywhere you go, plant seeds. You're going to water some of these seeds, and some of these seeds are going to start to grow, right? And start giving you some fruit, some vegetables, some trees, whatever it is, right? Some shade. It's going to start growing if you plant the seeds and then you water the seeds.
Yeah. This is all like a great transitioning point to my next question. So I already introduced you as, the co-founder of Inspirame Inc., right? And so I wanted to ask you, how did your network support you as the CEO of a tech startup? And where did you meet those people?
As a CEO of a tech startup, it's a scary route. Okay. Why? Because it's private business. As an educator, you don't have to worry about budget. You don't have to worry about a lot of different things, right? Because other people worry about those. You just go to show up to work and kind of get things done. As a entrepreneur, that's totally different, man. Everything falls on you. So because everything falls on me, right? And my degrees, right? My degrees aren't in business. I have an associate's degree in general education, a bachelor's degree in Chicano studies, and a master's degree in counseling, right? What does all that have to do with business? Well, it does and it doesn't. It does because you understand management, you understand basic people principles, you understand those kinds of things, right? You understand problem solving, you understand research, all of that. And as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you need all that. But what you don't understand, having the background that I have, is, the principles of accounting. I've never taken an accounting class, so you can't expect me to know exactly what to do, on my taxes, right, for the company and stuff like that. So the network, that's a key point. The network's so big now, right? My personal and professional network is so big now that I got a bunch of accountants in my network. All I had to do is pick up the phone, or even a message on LinkedIn. Hey, you want a side gig? And so we found my CPA accountant that way, right? We found my chief marketer that way. We found 2 of our engineers and 2 of our designers that way. Because when we need a position, I first go to my network and start asking my network, this is what I need. Who do you know? right? And then they reach out to their networks and find me. And now that person that I'm getting recommended is being recommended by somebody I know, right? So it's not someone new, someone that I'm going to run a risk on. It's someone that's part of the network, right? They increase their network enough to where we have a common person in there. And that common person, remember what I said, your network helps you, right? So you got to ask for help. So I often reach out to people in my network, right? I'll pick 5, 10, 15 of them, send them a message and say, hey, everyone, you guys know what I'm doing with Inspira Inc. This is what I'm trying to do. I need a grant writer. Mauricio, here's 5 different names. Hey, wow, thank you. And then I'll interview those, and then I'll figure out what their networks are, et cetera, and then I'll decide, do I want to hire them? So hiring for a company owner like me is really, really fast when you have an amazing network. When you don't have an amazing network, now you got to pay. Why? Because it's going to take you forever trying to find someone that's not coming in recommended by your network, right? And eventually that person might not work out. And if it doesn't work out, you got to do that again. And then again, and then again. And it just wastes an enormous amount of time and resources. So as an entrepreneur, my network is basically where I found all of my employees. It's very rare that I'll go out and find an employee to come work for us. I'm just going to ask my network, and they'll make sure that they align me somewhat with someone who can provide that skill. So do I rely on them a bit? Absolutely. Have they saved me an enormous amount of time and money? Yes. I can't even put a price tag to it because it's into the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they saved me from having to waste so much time, energy, and money recruiting people. I hope that answers your question. That's just one example, but it's a pretty important one.
No, yeah. I mean, I think it drives home the point that, you have a network and they know people, and through those people who you trust because you built an authentic relationship with, now you don't have to spend more time looking to maybe think about a candidate you're a bit iffy about because you have that extra layer of security through a peer, right? Through a friend. And, I think what's really interesting is that, someone in your network is helping someone else advance their career because this is experience over here. Maybe they're looking for more experience in design and engineering. And so I definitely wanted to ask
you, each other, right? Like my network helped me, but then at the same time, their network got that person a job, right? Because they connected them with me, right? And then that person's talking about our company, and then to their network, and then so it just keeps it keeps scaling and expanding, and then eventually they want to be part of my network, right? And it's just wow, it's one of those amazing things that just grow whenever whenever you're putting something together that people want to get involved in, right? And that's what we're doing at Inspira. We're putting something together to make sure kids make it through college as affordably as possible. That's huge. Everyone kind of wants a little piece of that. So it's easy to find people when I say, hey, I'm looking for a grant writer. A bunch of hands go up, right? Hey, I'm looking for an accountant. A bunch of hands go up because people want to be involved and they want to do good things.
Yeah. And so I definitely want to ask you, what was the first instance that you can recall in which someone in your network helped you make a step forward in your career?
Oh shit, dude. I'm gonna be honest right here, man. When I was in college, I was a homeboy, so I fought my way literally through college. And when I mean I fought my way, I mean I threw down. There was instances as an adult that I had to get crazy. and yeah, one of those times, guess what? I ended up in jail. I ended up with, I got arrested for an assault, right? Some homeboy tried to hit me up on the street, and you know how it is. You get hit up, guess what? I responded. And because I responded the way I was trained to respond, I ended up incarcerated, right? And so, I spent, a night in jail. It was just a throwdown, just a beef in the street. So they let me go, they let him go. I go to court, right? And I didn't tell anyone. I really didn't, because I was embarrassed about it. I was already at the university level, and I was still trying to, get the hominess out of my system, right? And so what happened was, I walk into court. I'm gonna walk in to see the judge as usual, and the judge is gonna tell me everything I owe, and all the bad things I've done, etc. And so, I'm getting ready to be called, and actually, as I'm waiting for my calendar ticket to come up to be called, I hear someone whisper my name in the back, and I look back, and it's one of my old bosses. And I'm like, oh shit, like, what are you doing here? We're at the courthouse, right? And I'm embarrassed. I'm supposed to be, a straight line college student, attending the university. And yeah, I'm like, oh man. And me not knowing, I said, so what did you do? Right? Because she's at court too. But what she did, actually, she wasn't at court for her. She had heard what happened to me. And her network, right, included a lot of people that were either lawyers, district attorneys, judges. Dude, I walk into court, charges dismissed, all of them. And I'm like, nah, that just didn't happen. And sure enough, guess what? When she was part of my network, and when she found out, she knew I wasn't going to ask for help, right? She took it upon herself to contact her network to ensure that those charges were not going to be implemented. Now, that was one of the greatest first realizations where I knew, wow, that is the power of the network, right? And these are people I don't even know. I knew one person, but because her network was way stronger than mine, her network included all of these other people that were able to intervene and basically get the judge to just dismiss all the charges. And I'm like, okay, now I can see how this game is played at a much higher level, right? I was used to the old school game of just being alone and just kind of working through it alone. And yeah, it was probably my greatest lesson of networking. And from that day forward, I did my best. So obviously stay clean and, give up all that the violence and lifestyle I was living. But at the same time, the realization that my network needs to be as big and as powerful so that I can provide those kinds of resources to people that need them in the time that they need them. And so that's my example for you, man. And that's like pura verdad right there. I'm fearless, so it doesn't matter to me what people think. It matters to me that you learn the importance of that networking, because you never know when you're going to need it.
So I think your story really helped to emphasize that, network isn't just, this system that exists, in your self-interest to, get another job, land an internship. It's really organic and compassionate. I think a really successful network is human based, empathy based, and really allows for people to, in their personal and professional life, grow. Like that's really what it comes down to. That is the strongest network that you could have. One that, where people truly do care about you. And, likewise for you to them.
That's right. That's right.
And so my last question, because, a lot of students, a lot of, young folks still kind of see and associate LinkedIn as, an inorganic, platform for inorganic relationships, for the simple fact to help you get a job that they might not even be interested in, that they're just getting because, look good or, this or that. So I wanted to end off today by asking you, what are your opinions on LinkedIn? Is it worth it?
So let me answer it this way. If I want to make a salad, where do I go, right? I got to go to the grocery store, and I got to go to the produce section, right? Because probably not I need to make. We're gonna have meat. LinkedIn is kind of the same way, right? It has its use. It really does. It has its use. Is it for everything? Hell no. Come on now. If it does, it have its use to help you plant seeds in the minds of professionals? Yes, absolutely. It's exactly what it's for. That's exactly what I use it for. Is I go on there and I'll post something about the education profession or high technology in education or something that we're doing with the company. And I'm there strategically. I'm there to post something so that my network, right, that has over 1,000 people in it, and all professionals at all different levels, from presidents all the way down, senators and students even, right, all the way up and down, they all know what I'm doing. Plus, I planted a seed, right? Remember, they got to keep seeing your face and name, right? They got to hear your name, see your face. And so every time you throw a post, guess what? You plant another seed in these 1,000 and so people, right? And the more seeds you're planting, the more recognition you're going to get, so that when you do see some of these people in real life, whether it be at a conference, whether it be at a work event, whether it be an interview, they're going to recognize you. They're going to be, oh, that's, Eric. Oh, okay. I kind of know that person. Even though you don't really know the person, you kind of know the person because you've seen their posts, right? You've seen what they're all about. And so, like I said, like I started this example, I said, the grocery store, the produce section, right, to get the salad. LinkedIn is for professionals and students that are wanting to be professional. I got to be very clear about that. You're not going to see me post things about my kids on LinkedIn. Okay? Don't do that. LinkedIn is for work and for professional and to learn shit about your profession or about another profession. It's not to post what you ate, right? Or your cat jumping from, this to that. No, that is everything else social media.
Ironically, as my cat's tail just.
So you have to kind of follow the rules. If you come into LinkedIn thinking it's TikTok, no one's gonna be in your network. Right? If you come into LinkedIn thinking it's Tinder, dude, you're done in LinkedIn. The whole system will reject you, right? Other stores for that kind of shit. You know what I mean? But in LinkedIn, just keep it in mind, most people on there are going to college and have finished college, right? They're either in college or they finished college, meaning they're working their way up or might already be at the top, but they're working their way up in their professions, whatever that profession may be. And they're going to be posting professional stuff, right? So like articles on their profession, articles on some of the research they might be doing, whatever. Some of it's cool, some of it's not so, some of it's cool, whatever. Some of it's boring, but it works the same way as other social media platforms. You like things, you comment on things, but it's just to measure you up. Like, are you ready to be a professional? And when I say that, I mean, you don't have to tell a professional what to do. We know what to do. Right. And so as you learn to be a professional, you're going to get to that point, right, where you just know what to do and you're always doing it for your job. And that is what LinkedIn is for, to polish you up, to make you a professional, allow you to plant seeds. As a student, should you have LinkedIn? Yes. And put your title as a student. Don't put your title as a cashier, at the joyeria. Don't do that. Put on there, student at this community college, student at this university studying this, open to internships, open to part-time employment. Tell them a little bit about yourself, about your dreams, about your passion on your profile. That's it. When you're a student and you tell us on LinkedIn you're a student, and then you reach out like to connect to someone like me, I'm going to accept it because you're a student, right? And a student is forgiven for any like mistakes they make because you're a student, you're learning, right? And all of us as professionals know that. We were already there, right? So we give you a little leeway, little forgiveness if something's incorrect, right? Because you're not a professional yet, you're working your way up to be a professional. So on LinkedIn, be fearless, start your account, put up a decent picture, right? My picture is like, I hate taking pictures. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not, a photogenic person, right? And so when one day I cropped off a picture of some baile my wife and I were at because I looked halfway decent. So if you looked at my LinkedIn picture, it's like an old picture of a baile. You can't even tell I cropped it, right? But the thing is, get a decent picture on there, put your name up there, your legit name, right? Your name up there, put a little bit of your academic background. Doesn't have to be all of it. You're not going to see on mine that I had a 2.0 in high school. You're not going to see that, right? Because that doesn't freaking matter. What matters is that I'm on LinkedIn, right? And so what you want to make sure is you share just enough, and then you start networking, asking people to connect. And you don't have to, I just hit connect. If they don't want to connect, that's cool, but I'm hitting connect, and your network is starting to expand. And then post some stuff. I wouldn't post some stuff right away. I would definitely read what other people are posting, so you kind of understand how things are going, like some things, thumbs up some things if you want to comment on some things. And I'm going to be honest, I really didn't start posting and using LinkedIn heavily until about 4 or 5 years ago, right? Then I started really using LinkedIn because I knew I was going to go into the private sector and try to kind of revolutionize technology and education. So I knew that day was coming. So I'm like, oh shit, I better start building my gang now before that day comes. So I built up my LinkedIn as a counselor professor at Sacramento City College, right? And so all the Sac City people on there, a lot of Los Rios district people on there, right? Bunch of educators. And then when I swapped my position to co-founder of a high-tech company, guess what? Now I started adding all the business people, all the high-tech people. And so now my network includes a lot of educators and a lot of entrepreneurs and high technology people. And so, what you're going to do with yours, you're going to do the same, and just start expanding that network and start using LinkedIn slowly, because to be honest with you, it's the only platform out there for professionals at this time. Okay. There are a couple other things kind of coming up, but they don't have enough traction as LinkedIn does. LinkedIn is, the leader in that field for professionals to network. Okay. So is it important? Absolutely. Should you start your account as a student? Absolutely. Should you monitor it and kind of learn how it works? Absolutely. You will use it every day once you're a professional. Once you finish those degrees and enter the professional world, you're going to use it every day. I'll bet you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you provided some valuable insight. I mean, for those watching, Mauricio hired me. so, so that's how we know each other. So I think it was really interesting, as a content intern for the app that Mauricio helped found and start. Even for me, who is currently applying to grad school and isn't, at the start of their college career, we're still also able.
You're currently, Emilio, you're what, at San Diego, UC San Diego, right? And you're studying. Tell the audience, what are you studying?
Psychology.
Okay. And you're going to grad school after that?
On the condition that I get accepted, but I'll just speak it into existence. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a LinkedIn account already?
I do.
Okay. It sounds like you're not using it yet as much, but at least it's there.
Yes.
So someone, and again, start using it, right? Like everyone in the audience, create one. That way, if someone types in your name, say a job, you applied for a job, you don't know if that employer goes to LinkedIn to see if your name is on there, right? So that's another thing. You don't know who's using LinkedIn. You could be applying to different jobs all over the place. And guess what? Those professionals, I'll bet you they're on LinkedIn. And I'll bet you some of them, as soon as they see your resume, they slap you into that LinkedIn account to see who you are. Okay, so make sure that LinkedIn account is up and running and that people can find you and get that decent picture up there. Just give a very high level overview of who you are, your background, kind of what you're planning on studying, and like I tell most of my students, hey, fake it until you make it. Okay, if you don't know what to say, fake it until you make it. Trust me, I've been doing that all my life and it's worked.
Yep. Well, once again, Mauricio, thank you for your time today. And
You're welcome.
I look forward to the next time that we speak.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you very much. And listeners, always start your Teco Guide account. We're getting better every few months, adding new features, cleaning up the app. Please give us some feedback. Email us directly, on our contact links. Just let us know how we're doing and let us know how we can help you. Remember, techoguide.com is free and it's going to show you how to navigate any college affordably. What we're doing is we're adding one college at a time until we add all of them. That way, there's no excuse on how you can get your degree or college certificate quickly and affordably. Thank you very much for listening.
I had a blast interviewing Professor G. Now, if you're like me, numbers really help drive a point. According to Braven, an organization committed to equitable opportunities and economic mobility, out of the 1.3 million first-generation and or low-income college students, only 30%, so around 390,000, 400,000, of that 1.3 million will secure a job or enter graduate school upon, graduation. That's alarming, only 30%. And, other research reports show that having a strong network really helps land a job. You can land a referral, you can gain insights to writing a strong statement of purpose for your graduate admission cycle, right? I think this just shows that a network is really strong and important, because today only 30% of first gen and or low income students are finding success in getting a job or entering graduate school upon graduation. That's all from me. Just to reiterate what Professor G said, make sure to log on to techoguide.com and check out all the content that's posted on Teco every single week. See you next week and see you at graduation.